tuck them towards your body, because then you get. You don't think about this as a percussionist when you're wearing this stuff.
Yeah. I should have given you a chance to talk about what you were actually, like, the instruments you're playing.
Oh yeah. Okay, so let's do the quick version of that. So this is traditionally known as a rub board. You might have heard of it referred to as a washboard. Both of those things are okay, but for us, terminology-wise, rub board is preferred. It is, as we say, we rub it, and it is very loud. Okay, so the steel band? No? Okay. You ever seen a steel band before? Okay, so there's metal in steel band. We refer to it as metal, so there's a person in the back that's playing brake drum. This is basically the brake drum of the Cajun Zydeco ensemble. This, interestingly enough, not as much a Cajun instrument as it is a Zydeco instrument. So the best way I can describe it, and I'm going to use this is my non-pedagogical or non-ethnomusicological approach to describing the difference between the two. So Cajun music and Zydeco music are not the same thing. Zydeco music is very much like a heavy drum set, boom, cha, boom, cha, and it typically has accordion as its primary melody driver. Cajun music can have accordion, but often has fiddle more than anything else. And its primary rhythm driver is this lovely instrument. Anybody know what this is?
This drum.
A what?
This drum.
Well, I suppose if you were talking about it ethnomusicologically speaking, yes. This is what's referred to as a tifere. Anybody speak French? Or Cajun French? Well, I know. I'm in Texas now.
Yeah, I know. You crossed the
Shoot.
border.
Tifere. So I'm actually from Louisiana, and I had one of these when I was growing up. This is literally translates to little iron. Okay, so this is a piece of iron, and this is your percussion instrument in a Cajun ensemble. So if you were to come to Lafayette, Louisiana on Saturday, this Saturday, yes, this Saturday and every Saturday, and you were to go to our farmer's market in the middle of the city in a park called Munkus Park, there would be a collection of people, probably about the same amount of people as in here. People would bring their fiddles, bring their tiferes, they would sit down and they'd play Cajun music. So you could be sitting next to a person who never played before, or you could be sitting next to Grammy Award-winning Cajun musician Michael Doucet of the band Beau Soleil. And you just sit right next to you and call tunes. And your job is to know whether you're playing. And usually, and there's different beats that go with different tunes because there's Cajun waltzes and there's two steps and there's things like that. But that's your job. That's all you would do if you're a percussionist. And anybody can do this.
My 4-year-old son tries to do this.
Anyone. The whole point of it is for it to be more inviting and community driven. I think one of the things we forget about as percussionists is that originally our instrument was all about community, right? We gather around fire, or we get together with our friends with drums, people dance, people sing. We never thought about, I'm not very good at playing paradiddle, so I don't know if I should play this drum today. Or, we didn't think about it like that. It was just an expression of joy. And music is indeed that. More so than just, right notes or wrong notes, or things you wish you did better, or things you're happy that you did great on. It's just about expressing joy. So in a lot of ways, that's what it harkens back to. So for us, I wish I told Catherine more tifere, please, but just because I enjoy playing it. But it's kind of fun to see and interact with other musicians playing. So after it's over, if you guys want to come fiddle around with tifere, you can. And I did say fiddle. That is the primary instrument.
Yeah, that's a technical term.
Well, we have a lot. If you travel east from here, you don't have to go too far east to get to it. Is a little bit of both Cajun music and Zydeco. But Zydeco is probably something you'd hear more of, I think, than Cajun music. Cajun music is a little bit less ubiquitous. Zydeco is kind of everywhere, and there are Zydeco artists like Chris Ardwin, Keith Frank, Lil Nate. These are guys that you probably heard Zydeco tunes, you don't even realize it. There's probably a lot of similarity between like the Tejano music and parts of Zydeco music. Not just based on the accordion, but the ways that phrases are created and structured. Because nothing is square in Cajun music, because it's probably like my old grandfather who couldn't tell you what 4/4 time was, but he could sing a song. And sometimes that song was in 3, and sometimes it was in 4. And it was the same song every time. I don't know how it was a different time signature.
Pretty wild.
But there we have it.
There you go.
And now for something completely different.
You want to talk about this instrument, or do they?
Well, I mean, they all know what it is, but I think the funny thing is that this is probably our most traditional, one of our most traditional percussion instruments, and hardly anybody knows that. Because it goes back a real long way. Of course, it didn't look like this, right? This instrument has only been around for like 60 years. Maybe not even that long, certainly not in this configuration. But if you were to make it smaller, how many of you have been to Mexico? Yeah. So have you seen Mexican marimba bands? No? Oh man, those things, it's so cool. These are instruments that are in most cases smaller than this, and it's melody and harmony, and it is people literally hitting the instrument as hard as they can because the mallets are like made of tennis balls, and it is amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. But this is the marimba, of course, we know this. But what we end up doing as percussionists sometimes is we end up playing, if we want to play with other people, things that are not traditional marimba literature, right? So, you know what this is, right? Everybody know that one, mustard B major, right? Yes, everybody. If you don't know, we're going to talk about mustard B major later, percussionists. Yeah. So I'm not going to play that today, but I am going to be moving around a lot. And so really what I'm serving as is piano accompanist for our trombonist. But the cool thing about this piece, which is called Pair Up, and I believe I'm going to get this right, the composer's name is Miles Wright.
Good order.
Yep, we get the order mixed up. Sometimes we go Wright Miles, sometimes it's Miles Wright. If I play it right, it'll be Miles Wright. If I play it wrong, it'll be Wright Miles. One of the cool things about this piece, called Pair Up, is that we actually get to share a lot of responsibility. So you'll hear sections where I am kind of leading as sort of the melodic vehicle, and then you'll hear sections where Dr. Yates here will be leading as the melody driver. Of course, I can play more notes at the same time than he can, so I will play chord structures, which he will not. Sorry.
It's fine.
But that also allows me to be accompanist at some points, which is good because there's a lot of notes in this, and I'd rather not play as many of them as I have to play. So yeah, it's a cool little piece. He found it. I can't take credit for
I was
it.
gonna say, this is one of those examples where you're just on the internet looking for trombone and percussion stuff, and you find this, and then you send it to your collaborator and say, "What do you think?" And they go, "Okay."
Yeah. I'm gonna have to be careful with my tempo choices on this one.
Yeah.
But it's a challenging piece, but it's also a fun piece. And I think it does a really nice job of showcasing both of us, which is cool. So, and this is the this is the number 2 of 2 pieces we're gonna play for you today. So this is Pair Up by Miles Wright. May I make one impassioned plea, and this is probably more to the percussionist, but to the trombonist as well. One of the things that we don't do very well when we were in our undergrad, and hopefully your professors are up on this, is play with other people. So as percussionists, we tend to play with percussionists. Duos, trios, percussion ensemble, trombonists, you get trombone choirs, things like that. When you get out in the real world, there are three things that will happen. The first thing is you'll run out of practice time. Sorry about that. The second thing is you'll find that the gigs you were getting before might get a little more scarce. And the third thing is you very rarely play by yourself. And if you do, it's usually one of those really special things. I have found that the best way to play music is to find someone that you enjoy playing with and play music with them. And it doesn't matter how good or bad it is. It doesn't matter how hard or easy it is. What's most important is that you're enjoying making music together. So my passion plea is if you're a percussionist, before you leave this wonderful place, find another instrumentalist to play music with.
It doesn't have to be an instrumentalist. I mean, I think, example, you do a lot of work with vocalists.
Yeah.
And it's really great work, right? So
I'm actually part of an ensemble called Texture that creates music for voice and percussion. And it's everything. It's vibes, it's marimba, it's percussion instruments, it's all kinds of crazy stuff. So the more you can get involved in those kind of things, the more enriching your life becomes as a musician too, because guess what? He's taught me things about the way he interacts with music, and I have shared things with him.
I have learned a lot.
So we can learn a lot from each other, and it's always awesome to play with other people and not by yourself. Because playing by yourself gets old really fast. Like there's only so many times I can play velocities for. I'm like, I just want to play something.
And you know what's also interesting about that is like, you know how intonation's completely different when you're working in like trombone ensemble versus working in band or wind ensemble versus orchestra versus playing with piano, right? We know that there's different intonation systems. That thing is completely different to play with as a trombonist, right? Like it's fine, you can do it, it's not impossible, but it's really different. And the first time I did it, I was like, wait a minute, I don't know if I want this, right? But it's a really great experience, and it will make you a better musician. Also, you might meet somebody different than you'd usually meet. Like trombonists are all kind of the same personality, we're all kind of chill, even keel, right? And then when you go hang out with a crazy percussionist, right? It's a totally different,
I'm gonna take him to basic. I'll show him what it's really about. This is the small, easy version. So thank you for all being such a wonderfully attentive audience.
Yeah, they're so
enjoyed
nice
the
to
notes.
us. Do you have any questions about what we just did that are kind of related to, I don't know, I mean, you could ask questions about all sorts of things. Commissioning new music for ensembles.
I love, it doesn't matter where you go. It's the exact same thing. It's like no one wants to ask the first question. So I'll ask the first question. Anybody have anything interesting for lunch today?
Oh yeah, lunch.
Nathan, what's your question, Nathan?
Oh, Aries. So as far as competition goes and trying to get music out, what is the best way to copyright your stuff? Because there's a lot of concern with AI and like people posting stuff and AI scanning it before it should be copyrighted. So what's the
That's an awesome question. I'm not a composer. Like that, and that's that was a decision I made with purpose at one point in my career because I'm not good at it. So I don't, from the composer's viewpoint, I don't really know, but I can tell you in terms of like my artistic work that I'm putting out there, there's no clear path forward right now for like I'm gonna post videos of this performance and then it's gonna be on YouTube, and YouTube sells all their stuff and they use it themselves for their own AI stuff. There's no clear path forward on all that stuff. And I don't know if there's a clear path forward on copyright, actually. I know that there's some ideas about what that path is, but I'm not sure it's enforceable.
I think the monks had the right approach. Just write it all by hand. and just pass it out and no one can steal it from you.
Yeah.
No, but you
I mean, I
make
know
a valid point, especially with regard to AI.
I know a composer that writes all their stuff on a specific computer, right, that is not hooked into the internet, right, which is possible.
Air gap, they call that.
And then I get these encrypted files from this composer because they're really worried about this. And I think they have a right to be. I'm willing to deal with that, but they tell me like, okay, I want you to put this on a hard drive, and then don't put your tablet on the internet and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, like, sorry, I can't guarantee that, but I'm willing to kind of play their end of the game for that because it is an issue. But it's kind of like I compare it a little bit. It's way worse. Okay, I will say that this is like very concerning. So I don't mean to downplay it, but it's a little bit like what was happening in the late 90s when I was in college, the late 90s, early 2000s, with Napster and people ripping their CDs and putting music illegally on the internet for download. So we were bypassing the actual purchase of music, which, do you remember? Yeah, you guys remember that, right?
I remember.
Do you remember that?
I was part of the problem for a while.
There was this
Yeah,
idea
we all
there
were.
was like, why are we
If you
putting
say you weren't, you're lying.
Well, I mean, I feel like there's like, we gotta beat the man on this, and we kinda did, right? Because now, you can, for, what's the Spotify student monthly fee now, like, $6?
It's
Okay.
really cheap.
For
It's
$6
scary.
a month, you can stream anything you want or need, basically. And for $1 a song, you can buy the tunes on iTunes or whatever, right? So we got something better out of that. So I do think that there's a way to use this for good, but will that happen? I mean, my limited life experience, I'd say probably not, but I don't wanna be a downer in the master class. So yeah, we can do this.
So, but in kind of a direct way, my friends who are part of publishing companies, their publishing companies help them to navigate these treacherous waters. Especially, the people that hurt the most from this are the folks who are new. So it's easier for someone to hijack and restructure your music than it would be, say, John Williams. And that, it makes sense. There was an NPR article the other day about how there are bands on Spotify who are now defunct. Their music is still on Spotify, and people are generating AI tunes and putting them with this band's music, and they're using that so they can siphon money off of the band. So there was a frontman for a band that has long been out of practice who said he got a phone call from somebody saying, "Hey, you guys made some new music," and he's like, "No." But you see, you can't do that. Like, you can't make a tune and then go, "I'm Beyonce" on Spotify, because that's just not gonna work. But for younger composers, for newer composers, it's a lot more difficult. My advice would be to seek out help from someone who has been in your position, but maybe is now like 5-10 years down the road. Talk to one of them and say, "I know the situation is different, but how did you navigate this path?" They may turn you on to a publishing company that might wanna sign you up as a new composer to give you a little protection and to give them a little bit more of a future if they feel like you've got the right approach. And it's just good to make those contacts, right? Like, you are gonna be basically saying, "This is who I am as a composer." You want your name to be in as many places as possible, just like with Catherine's piece. We're playing it as many places as we can so we can share her music with other people who may or may not have heard it yet. So it benefits us, it benefits her, and
That's a fair example too.
Yeah,
Like Catherine's been self-publishing for years. Like, we're the same age. She's been doing that forever. But she's actually signing with a publisher in the process of doing that for the protection, basically. It's like that protected model is more important than maybe used to be or was at one point.
Yeah.
Because you don't need help with distribution anymore, right? Like, you can email people your music, it's easier. You can set your website up to do it automatically. Even I can do that.
And the crummy part is you kind of have to, right? Like, you can't avoid the internet. It used to be like when we were in school, you could avoid it, but you can't anymore, because part of that self-promotion is inherent in what we have to do. Your name can't get out there. If you're not using the internet, you're not getting out there. So everybody has a website. I don't have a website.
Oh, you gotta get it.
Because I grew up in a time where there weren't computers. I know I look fresh and young, maybe less now than I used to, but yeah. And so I've been saying for years, I need to get a website, and then it comes down to it, I'm like, just do something else. But
I got into this because I didn't want to be in front of a computer, and my whole day is.
But yeah, it's a good question.
It's different. Yeah.
What else we got?
Better.
When you're commissioning music and communicating with composers, and
there's things in your music that are non-ideal for your instrument. How do you like go about handling that?
I'm
Just
really,
tell 'em.
I'm really straightforward about that
Yeah.
stuff. I just say this is not or sometimes I'll say, you know, maybe that's possible for Joe, but like not for me. Joe will see. Or, you know, like
Even I
maybe,
didn't do the same.
maybe this is total 100% something that somebody could do who has the time for that, but often what we're dealing with in the reality of our jobs is that we don't have time to learn really, really crazy hard stuff. Or if we do, it's gonna be one really, really crazy hard thing and then a bunch of other stuff. So I'm just really straightforward. And usually when I'm working with a composer, I'm straightforward from the beginning. Like, I need a 6-minute tune that's about grade 3.5 or 4. This is the range. I usually tell people, like, this is the range I want to limit it to. Or when we were working with Catherine, we said, here, these instruments would be cool to incorporate.
Yes.
Don't go beyond these, you know, stuff like that.
Because that's the other side for percussion that can get wild, right? We have so many things. So if a composer's like, what would you like? And you say, I would like a piece of music that's 6 minutes long. For timpani, for vibraphone, for xylophone, and then we're also assuming that this is a composer that knows percussion instruments, right? Because you could be dealing with a person who's never composed for percussion before. And I have friends who will not take gigs with certain, or will not take commissions with certain instruments because they don't know the instrument well enough to guarantee the product is going to be good. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But you also have to be, like, if they're being honest with you, you have to be honest with them. And you just have to say, this is what we can do. As a percussionist, I usually try not to micromanage range and things like that, because for me, it's not a necessary thing. The instrument is the instrument, except here where you got 4-octave vibraphone. Good for you guys. Had to like reset my brain before we started playing to make sure I was playing in the right octave.
It's the same.
Yeah, well, but if I get something, like let's say a composer sends something into me and it's for 6 mouths, because they saw someone on the internet play with 6 mouths. I'll go, yeah, I can't do this. Okay, and then they just restructure most of those chord structures. A lot of composers think of percussion, especially mallet percussion, like it's piano. And so they're trying to write a piano part just with 4 or 2 implements. And I have to remind them that that's not the case. It's not a piano. It can function that way, but it can also function more rhythmically. And we can play melody, and we should be able to interact with each other as a composer, or as a performer. But then there's sometimes where if I know the person really well, and I know that they're like stretched out to where they're gonna be able to write, I'll just figure it out. And sometimes you have to do that. Like, not every tune is a banger, right? Like, on a 12-tune album, you'd be lucky to get a couple of them that hit the charts. But we live in a world where everybody's like, it's gotta be a hit every time. No, it doesn't. That's ridiculous. Not every composition is great. Some of them are bad. It's okay. Beethoven wrote some clunkers too, y'all. You just don't hear them because the years have passed.
And you just spent $1,500 on not a good piece of music, and that's okay.
Yeah. But you learn how to interact with a composer in that environment. And so then maybe if you like that person and they're willing to work with you, then for the next piece, because you know them better and they know you better, you navigate. Catherine is friends with Benjamin. They work together. So when he said, let's commission her for this piece, I said 100%, that's great. Because I know if he thinks she can do it, she can do it. And I trust his statement. Just like my friend Brian Nazi, you know Brian? So Brian teaches at South Alabama. Many of you probably played Brian's music. Anytime I talk to Brian about anything, 100%, I'm never worried. I give him no instructions. I just say, please do this. And he does it. And I never have to question. We've known each other for years. So I completely know what I'm going to get from him the moment he sits down to write. And if I give him more parameters, I might press him down into a place where he writes something that isn't really him. It's somebody else. I don't want that. I want his music. So I have to be really careful, especially as a percussionist with that.
Awesome. All right, we're going to separate out for the master class now. Thank you